In a world of 350 billion movie podcasts, two chumps have decided that now is the time for cult movies to engage in combat. Disagreements will be had, blood may be spilled, and voiceover artists most definitely will not be paid. This is Cult Film Face-Off.
Hello and welcome to episode 54 of Cult Film Face-Off. My name is Chet Rivers, with me as usual is Nick Leonard.
You two donkey dicks couldn't get laid in a morgue.
In this episode we're going to be looking at two movies with plots that focus on, in the unforgettable words of King Willie, fucking voodoo magic man. The Believers from 1987 and The Serpent and the Rainbow from 1988. We'll start off with the first film to be released, which was The Believers, released in 1987, directed by John Schlesinger. Following the freakish death of his wife, police psychiatrist Cal Jameson moved to the Big Apple with his young son, only to discover that a voodoo cult might have designs on sacrificing the boy. The Believers.
More than anything else, Cal Jameson wants to leave the horror of his old life behind. Now, in his new life, he's about to discover that the real horror is just beginning.
Closer! Did you see what they did to the kid in there?
You said he found the body of an altar with a lot of religious paraphernalia, right?
A religion as old as time.
One life from each of us counts.
Versus an unimaginable force for evil.
This ritual's being performed now. One life is all he has.
Nothing can stop them.
It's a power you can't imagine. Want them to know who you are? Do you?
What have they done to you, Sean?
I can't move.
No one can help you.
They got my shield, don't you get it?
You looked into his eyes, and you both felt the power of the man who killed them.
Jessica!
They know who you are.
Chris was chosen, Cal. When he found the shell, it was a sign. We want you to join us.
The Believers.
Okay, The Believers. I had never heard of this movie, had you?
Never heard of it, never had come across it.
No, me neither. Completely fresh to me. Knew literally nothing. So, I mean, what did you make of The Believers?
Yeah, likewise. Martin Sheen. Yeah. I mean, Martin Sheen. I've not really seen many Martin Sheen movies.
Really?
Have you seen many Martin Sheen movies? I can count on one hand.
I think probably I can as well, yeah. I think he starred in a lot of stuff that I presume hasn't aged well, because you never even see him pop up in movies on TV or anything like that.
No. What did you think of him as leading man in The Believers?
I thought he was kind of exactly what I expected of him. Kind of, what's the word?
I found his performance very workmanlike.
Workmanlike? I think that's a bit unkind, but like, yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean,
he kind of. I found that he didn't really have nuances of emotion. It'd either be a very big emotional kind of, or it would be complete. He just tend to have sort of two settings.
I think I kind of see what you're saying. He didn't seem like he was particularly invested in the material. But,
no. I think he was going through. I mean, I just felt that he was either on two modes. So yeah, he's a New York psychiatrist dealing with bereavement after losing his wife in a freak accident. Now, never would the phrase "don't cry over spilt milk" be so inappropriate.
I mean, you can't talk about this movie without talking about that in detail.
It's
weird, but it's also unbelievably weird because it happens. It's a big set piece, and then you think, how are they going to tie that into the mystery? It's just a spectacular death, and then that's
it's got nothing to do with anything.
No, I mean it's fucking bizarre. It's so overblown, and it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I had to like literally I overextended for the remote because my 17-month-year-old son was in the lounge. When that came on and she starts, he just went. So I was like, oh, no, have I traumatized him forever? Yeah. But yeah, a very harsh opener. So what did you think?
I think this is one of the vaguest movies ever made. I think that's what really kills it. It's one of those movies where you don't really know what everyone's goals are. You don't know how the bad guys interact with each other. You don't know who's really in charge. You don't know what they're after entirely. It's just vague. There's a bad guy, there's a good guy. Actually, it's one of those movies, I think we've talked about a few of them on the podcast. I reckon there's only one narrative in history where the twist being that there's a million people in on it has worked once. Never before, never since has that worked. So
yeah, the ending was especially daft and especially Scooby-Doo-esque in this film, and it really took itself quite seriously for the first hour, which was a real pity that the film ended like that. I mean, there's some great performances in here. I really enjoyed Robert Loggia as Lieutenant McTaggart. I mean, he's always great, but he was
Always good, yeah.
especially scene-chomping performance in this film.
Yeah.
His son, Martin Sheen's son, was a really bad child actor.
You reckon?
Oh, he was bad.
See, he's another one where I didn't really feel that. I didn't think he was that terrible, to be perfectly honest. I thought it was totally fine. I mean, this is.
I mean, the hissy fit when he loses his shell is just his performance in a nutshell.
That's another in a nutshell, in a voodoo shell. But that's another problem. The voodoo shell that he finds, his doll. You think, how do these relate to anything? They don't relate to anything.
No.
Nothing has anything. This is the most uncommitted screenplay of all time. It doesn't even. It's actually. Do you know? Did you look into who wrote it?
No.
His name's Mark Frost.
He did Mulder and Scully. Mark Frost. No.
No, he co-created Twin Peaks with David Lynch.
Okay. He's the co-writer for Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And then did he go off and do Mulder and Scully? What's that show called?
X-Files.
Yeah,
No, I don't think he had anything to do
have
with
I
it.
completely?
I think so.
There's definitely no link between the writer of Twin Peaks going off and doing.
No, I don't think so. I mean, he was involved in Hill Street Blues. I know that, and a few other bits and pieces. And he was collaborating with David Lynch in when they brought Twin Peaks back. So I mean, he found his niche there because. A citywide conspiracy. It's just a snoozer. I mean. The other thing is that it's an insane hodgepodge of different things. I mean, it's a family drama, it's sort of a romance at points, and then it's a detective story, and then it's obviously the supernatural element. I'm just like, make your mind up and be something.
Yeah, and it doesn't really have the strength to follow through with any of those narratives.
No,
I didn't believe the love story whatsoever between him and Martin Sheen and his neighbour that lives the floor below. One of the most unsexual romantic love sequences I think I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
Richard Massow was very good as the magic obsessed lawyer. I liked him. That was a great performance.
He's another actor who's always very, very solid. But I mean, the vagueness is just it is. Yeah. It's so. I felt like I was having my enthusiasm for the movie, but the movie pulled out of me by like a voodoo spell. I wouldn't disagree with you. I kind of was very invested for the first half an hour, and then my concentration started dwindling, and I only kind of really got jolts when there was like some particularly gruesome. There's a few nice gruesome bits, you know, when Tom Lopez, played by Jimmy Smits, his death sequence in the diner is done pretty well, and also, I mean, the most kind of toe curling sequence is when the insects are coming out,
boring out of her face.
But, I mean,
it's quite icky.
How good can a movie be with a subplot about a zit? Because for about 5 minutes of screen time, she's like, "Oh, I've got a spot on my face. Oh, it's getting bigger." Oh, and I was like, "This is not great drama." I mean, come on.
No, it was more that the effects were done well.
They were done pretty well, actually, to be fair. Yeah.
Also, this film has got one of the most worthless epilogues I have ever seen in a film.
The least chilling freeze frame twist ending.
I mean, really, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, also, Martin Sheen should have realised something was up when his son was barbecuing 10 chickens for the three of them. No one eats that much chicken unless there's some ritualistic voodoo shit going on.
I mean,
It's a pity because I actually think John Schlesinger is a really tight director. You know, it kind of he directed Midnight Cowboy, Marathon Man. You know, the guy's got
in the beginning, I thought he was actually
form.
He's handling the shifts, the shifts quite well, where it was going
Yeah,
from all those
yeah,
different,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
he just seemed to lose control of it because I'm going to say the same word again: vagueness. Everything's vague. You don't really know what's going on. You're kind of looking at these bad guys. You know they're shady. You know they want to kill his child, and they're vaguely related to this voodoo guy. Oh, the head voodoo guy, essentially the head bad guy.
Yeah.
Who did he look like? Anyone to you? I thought he was an uncanny. I thought he looked.
Go on.
Floyd Mayweather Jr. You don't think
Floyd Mayweather
He looked
Jr.?
exactly like Floyd Mayweather at different points. I was like, whoa, that looks like Floyd completely. Did you not think?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, right. I thought it was uncanny actually. Yeah, I mean, like you said, the ending's unsatisfactory. It just kind of sort of plods along, providing all the elements that should be in a movie like this, and then it's entirely underwhelming.
Yeah, and the last 20 minutes is so contrived and over the top. I was so tuned out by the time it ramps everything up into an action film that I was like, what? And it's a pity because the first half an hour sets things up and is quite engaging. These children are going missing. You've got Lieutenant McTaggart, scene chomping performance. And I was like, okay, is this gonna keep? And it doesn't. The wheels fall off kind of early.
I mean, it's just one of those things where it just kind of feels like it's doing the bare minimum to just even be a movie. But I mean, the climactic shootout does have one of my favourite headshots of all time. It's so low rent, there's barely any reaction from the actor, and there's a little pea of blood on the top, and I was like, that is wank. At least do something. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those movies, to be honest, that feels like it was rewritten and tinkering.
I was going to say it feels like it was in like development hell, and rewrites were happening again and again. They're like, shit, we've got to get this out of the gate. I thought it was funny that his son looked like he was auditioning as a before model for Just for Men commercial when his hair completely went grey.
Did it go completely?
It went completely grey. He looked like he was sporting like a Philip Schofield mop. Right. You know, this 10-year-old.
Right. I thought it was a shock of. Am I thinking of a different film? Maybe that happens in the other film we're going to talk about. Isn't it just like a shock of...
No, his son has got a full head of grey hair.
Okay, right.
Just before they're about to sacrifice him.
It's been a couple of weeks since I saw this movie, but yeah. I mean, the one positive I took was at the very beginning, the Martin Sheen and his wife interacting before she gets toasted. It's quite not. They're talking about how they can't hack it anymore because they used to be like partying or something. Now and I was like, I was quite enjoying. I think all of the dialogue between characters that has nothing to do with plot really, like even Richard Macer in the office, like talking to the boy and stuff. Yeah. That's really engaging. Everything to do with the plot, which is everything else, not interested. Yeah. And no one else on screen looks like they're interested either. No. It's just a very. It's just,
but then there's a reason why we haven't heard about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, although it's on Netflix UK, if this sounds interesting.
People are diving to their Netflixes going, let me put it on the ad list.
I want to watch. I'll happily say this in terms of poster quotes. It's the vaguest film I've ever seen. I was just like, give me some detail.
Yeah, I was just disappointed because it started off with good intentions, decent actors, a really fucking shirt-grabbing beginning, and then it just sort of dwindles, and it doesn't pursue this case. It doesn't go into the cult at all.
No, it doesn't.
It skims across the top of it. And also the problem with him being a psychiatrist is that he doesn't have access to anything. He's not a cop. He can't get to people. He's got no power at all.
Right.
I mean, I don't know why you do. I mean, I'd rather have a detective trying to infiltrate.
I mean, they try and sort of involve the policeman, but it's Martin Sheen.
That culminates. I mean, it's not culminates, but he's knocking on this guy's door who he wants to. And the guy goes, no one else at the door. He's like, well, he doesn't have to, does he? He's just a psychiatrist.
Now what? Yeah. It's just. I don't.
No, I can't recommend this. Really.
Yeah.
No, and it's a pity because it could have been great with a better script and a better storyline.
Maybe it was good. I mean, it does feel like a million people were tinkering with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Well, should we move on then?
Yeah. Let's crack on.
Okay. Well, let's move on to our next film, which is The Serpent and the Rainbow from 1988, directed by Wes Craven. Anthropologist Dennis Allen travels to Haiti to investigate rumours of a drug that witch doctors are using to turn people into zombies. The Serpent and the Rainbow.
From Wes Craven, director of A Nightmare on Elm Street, comes a story of the forbidden world between life and death.
No! There's a door to the mystical, and you just walk through it.
Somebody brought him back from the grave. And I want to know how they did it.
Death is not the end.
I'll take your soul.
You think you can take these people's secrets and just walk away?
In the shadows of the imagination lies the ultimate nightmare.
Don't let them bury me. I'm not dead.
The Serpent and the Rainbow.
Okay, I saw this when I was probably 9 or 10. Gave me a couple of nightmares. Had you seen it before?
I bet gave you nightmares at 9 or 10.
Yeah,
Jesus,
big time. What about, did you see it?
I've never seen it before. I was very aware of it with the art. That artwork is just embossed in my head from video shops.
Yeah, right. So, what was it like?
So, I mean, it's such kind of like a juxtaposition of different directors looking at The Believers and The Serpent and the Rainbow. It's shot way more artistically. Wes Craven, with Wes Craven behind the camera, you're getting spinning 60-degree shots. You're getting a camera strapped to Bill Pullman's chest when he's going through the Amazon. I mean, real visceral stuff. I thought it was a real simple but very gripping premise. Actually, I thought it was done really well. Bill Pullman, I'm not 100% convinced with him as a lead man.
He got a lot better the older he gets. I think he's still improving now. To be honest, I think he's the older he is a shaky leading man in The Serpent and the Rainbow. Certainly.
Yeah. But there are some really good supporting performances. Kathy Tyson and Michael Goff are really good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this by and large. I thought there were some really well done sequences in this. The buried alive sequences were done really well.
Yeah.
I mean, really gives you a feeling of claustrophobia. And there was some classic Wes Craven moments in here when there's a sequence where a zombie hand shoots out of the pea soup. Typical black human. One of the other characters responds, "Something wrong with your soup?" I just thought that's just typical Craven. But no, by and large, I quite enjoyed it. What did you think?
It didn't hold up as well as I remember, because I remember it really. I remember watching it through the cracks of my fingers, but being like, so gripped. Yeah. Originally, apparently, this was 3 hours. And Wes Craven cut it right down to what it is now, which is around about half that, I think, maybe just over. You can tell.
It feels a little bit too long, though.
Yeah, see, this is the problem.
You could have shaved 20 minutes off it.
I mean, the voiceover, it's like Blade Runner. I don't know whether it was intentional, but Bill Pullman sounds really insincere, like he doesn't want to be doing it, and it doesn't really. It's kind of slightly unnecessary. The voice of it is just to sort of paper over cracks from sort of cutting half the movie out. I think Craven's work is solid. I think there's an element of the journeyman to him here. I mean, there are flashes of like, that's that. I mean, but I think Wes Craven, when he's working on his own scripts, is a different director to when he isn't. The exception probably being Scream. I mean,
and there's some good jump scares in here as well, especially when the zombie bride is approaching Pullman in one of the nightmare sequences, and the jaw break and the snake jumping out. I fucking jumped out my skin.
Yeah, it's definitely a film that I think benefits from its simplicity. There's only a few characters. Everyone's agenda is very, very straightforward. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's complete opposite in a way of the other film, because you know what's happening at all times.
No, this is it. It was far more. It was a far more succinct film. I followed it completely. It was very easy to follow, and entertaining, and a determined film as well. Yeah. I felt it kind of the action propels along pretty well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. I think the only problem, I mean, it's a good, solid entertainment. I think it still holds up reasonably well. My problem with it is that it's not quite lurid enough to be up there with Wes Craven's best films, and it's not really classy enough to be kind of like something you might compare to Silence of the Lambs, like a high-end, respectable horror film. It's not quite.
For me, I mean, it's interesting looking at these two films, because the one film that is omitted from these two, and it has to be talked about when you're talking about The Serpent and the Rainbow, and you're talking about The Believers, is Angel Heart. Because I mean, all these three films all came out within, I think, 2 years of one another, and Angel Heart is knocks these two into a cocked hat. I mean, Angel Heart is the film about voodoo, with an amazing leading man, with a fantastic director at the helm, Alan Parker. For me, if you want to watch a movie about voodoo, and that is a kind of an investigation, and it's just a fantastic piece of filmmaking, Angel Heart all the way.
Yeah, I mean, Angel Heart doesn't deserve to be mentioned. Well, no, that's unkind.
Because it's part of this subgenre. It's part of this small subgenre.
Well, I mean, in terms of quality, that's a great film. I don't think it. Neither of these two can hold a candle to it. Although,
but they all belong in this kind of mini subgenre of the occult.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I mean, if we'd have done Angel Heart versus any of these two, it would have been an absolute.
Yeah, but no, I understand that. But just when you mention these two, you've got to mention the third, because they all came out within such a close proximity.
I think it's probably like maybe even the same 12 months, perhaps.
Well, they all came out. Hang on a second. This is 88.
This was 80.
I think Angel Heart came out in 88.
87, wasn't it? I thought it was late 87.
87. Yeah, so 87. Yeah, so yeah. Angel Heart 87, Believers 87, and Serpent the Rainbow 88.
Yeah, well, that is weird.
So in a 12-month period.
I wonder why that is. Why did that? I mean, there's always a reason.
And it's all about. They're all concerning,
voodoo magic. Mark.
Yeah, voodoo magic.
There is one moment in this film where I was like, oh my god, where if being cheesy was a crime, Wes Craven would have perished behind bars. It's the cheesiest thing I've ever seen in a film. It's the ghost of the leopard appearing in front of Bill Pullman at the end. God. I was like, that's like having him grabbing a handful of stinking bishop cheese. That should be illegal. Craven, you never get away with it. It's the cheesiest thing I think I've seen in a film in probably a decade.
That is a shot of saccharine to the eyeballs.
So it is unbelievably cheesy.
Did you see any lookalikes?
I don't think I did. Not in
I've
this,
got
no.
an absolute zinger.
Go on then.
At 29 minutes in of this movie, after the wedding sequence, it's a young Lionel Richie.
Is he in the background? Am I going to have trouble finding him in the
you
video?
won't. It's at 29 minutes, right? He's a young lad, and he's walking straight into camera. It's a young Lionel Richie.
Okay, I look forward to digging that out.
Also, what I noticed as well is that Bill Pullman's character cannot barter. There's a sequence where he's trying to procure some of the juju juice.
Right,
Would you call it juju juice?
Is that what it's called?
Yes, bad juju juice.
Okay, yeah.
He's trying to get this anaesthetic. Anyway.
Yeah.
And he starts off like with $100, then he goes to $1,000, then $700, then $400, then he settles for $500. You're like, what the fuck? Yeah, I tell you what also is done really well in this is it was shot in the Dominican Republic. It's trying to portray being in Haiti, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that the oppression and the poverty and the desperate people is I really soaked up that. I thought that was done extremely well, and also the kind of the zombie myth as a metaphor for like the political enslavement. I mean, it's not particularly subtle, but it's quite apt.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's so far and away a more thoughtful film
absolutely.
than the last. And the story works, and there are several, I'd say, borderline great moments in it. You can't say that about the Believers. I mean, I really love the scene where he's basically getting conned into.
They put the goat down.
They drug the goat.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole sequence.
Yeah, it's great. And also the sequence where they're talking about the guy getting buried. The first guy. I was just like, oh,
horrific.
Done brilliantly.
Yeah. No, it's a really good. I'd say it's like a really, really solid, no questions asked, 3-star movie.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have no worries. Anyone listening, check it out. You haven't seen it,
especially if you like Wes Craven, because I feel like it's more of a journeyman effort than usual. But there are some moments, like some of the ones you mentioned, where he really does. He knows how to.
It just feels like proper Craven.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like classic Craven.
Yeah, he does bring a little something out of it. Yeah. In terms of picking one of these movies, I mean, I don't think there's any question about
this is pretty clean cut.
Yeah, I mean, the Believers is just, it's like a studio fart. It's like they had Martin Sheen needed to do a movie. They had a script that sort of worked. Chuck a few $1 million at it, maybe it'll work.
It's workmanlike in its execution in terms of but it's the problem with it is just none of those storylines are given any time to be fleshed out, and it just starts to fizzle out after half an hour.
Yeah, it's piss. It's really not good. And
so the Rainbow's great. I enjoyed it. Also, we have to mention the baddie. I mean, he's a great fucking baddie. Zakes Mackay, who's the commander of the secret police. I mean, he's a nasty piece of work, man.
I've seen him in a few things.
Yeah, I've seen him in a few things.
Dust Devil, I remember, and
Waterworld, Outbreak.
Yeah.
I mean, he's great in this. I mean, he really plays a sadistic, evil black magician to a T.
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, it's no contest. I'd recommend Serpent and the Rainbow. I wouldn't recommend The Believers in a million years. But yeah, that's us done. Thank you very much for listening. Check us out on social media. We're on there. All of these episodes are on YouTube, cut to video. Check them out. We'll see you in a couple of weeks for another one.
Keep it foolish.
Cult film Face Off.
Coming up next, a thriller that tries to make us believe in Latin American voodoo is practiced right in New York City. It's called The Believers.
God gave his only begotten son. Let him go!
Is The Believers, and it's the ambitious but overlong and belabored yarn about a police psychologist played by Martin Sheen who comes to New York after his wife dies and winds up finding even more grief there in the form of voodoo from Latin America, which is running rampant in New York City. Murders are being committed. The New York police themselves are scared. And then Sheen encounters voodoo firsthand when he takes Helen Shaver, a prospective lover, to a Spanish Harlem benefit. That's right, that voodoo dancer has the power, and his black magic is used for evil in the film as Detective Robert Loggia finds out to his horror he's scared crazy.
I came alone. I'm here to help you.
Why haven't they done anything to you?
What have they done to you, Sean?
I can't move.
Now, what are we seeing there? I mean, really, all it is some kind of updating of some cheap 1950s voodoo movie. I think you can see the repetition there. The story makes tremendous demands on your credibility, unless you already do believe in voodoo, in which case, probably, this isn't even a good voodoo movie and a representation of voodoo. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting cast, but a meandering, shaggy dog voodoo story. All the dolls and the piercing of the dolls. I wasn't scared for a minute. I didn't believe it for a minute. All I thought I was seeing was voodoo on parade.
Well, I thought it was a very silly, ridiculous, and bad movie.
Okay, so they can get some dolls out for you, too.
It was offensive right at the beginning, where Martin Sheen's first wife steps in a puddle of milk and touches the coffee maker
was the most
and
ridiculous.
electrocutes herself for no reason other than to give us a pre-title sequence. It's not important to the rest of the movie. What bothered me was, you know, we've been talking about Arab bashing, where they take extremely negative Arab stereotypes because it's okay, the Arabs are our enemies, we can make them look real bad in the movies. That's not fair. By the same token, it's very unfashionable these days to have any anti-black images, but make them voodoo priests, because then we can absolutely exploit them in any way possible. And I thought there was a lot of not too far under the surface racism in this movie that really offended me.
Yeah, but Roger, what offended me more than that is that it is simply a very bad film. It is intended to scare you. We're supposed to feel all the fear that that woman feels. I wasn't scared for a single second.
Didn't work as a thriller.